Hey there. Welcome to All Things Social Security. I'm Stephanie Joy. Whether you are a first-time viewer, an occasional viewer, a subscriber, or one of the three tiered benefactor members, I want to welcome you and let your video begin. Remember, if you haven't checked out the memberships, it might be something up your alley because it gives you an opportunity for a little more Social Security disability attorney attention if you need it, but don't have representation and don't want to do a full-fledged consultation. Okay, have a great one, guys. Stay tuned. Hey guys, so what do you do if you're on SSI and you're sharing an apartment with somebody else? You're both in the lease and you both pay your portion. And you that way you can afford to live in a semi-decent apartment while being on SSI. Makes total sense, right? Sharing. I mean, I share my abode with someone who pays half the bills. That would be my husband. But back in the day, we always shared apartments. I mean, back in college, I remember we had a house and we shared bedrooms, two to a room. So you do what you got to do to be able to afford to put the roof over your head, right? Same with SSI, of course. But be careful. I would not have one person pay the big check to the landlord by having the one roommate put their portion into the final payer's bank account. Um, it's not that you can't maybe perhaps fight the battle and prove that it's all within the rules if you have to, but you don't want to have to go there. And certainly if it's going to put your bank account over the threshold as you pass into a new month because you just got plopped in there $600 or whatever, that's going to be a problem. I'm not saying that you can't necessarily fight the fight and prove that it was not your money to spend. You're just holding it for them until you could then transfer it to the landlord. I'm not going to say you can't do that. I honestly haven't done that and haven't had the need to. And I have seen some scuttlebutt, and again, I'm not researching it, about when people were inaptly, jointly titled on a bank account when it wasn't really their money. They were just on there as a signator and all that kind of stuff. So it is possible, possibly, for you to have the right to rebut. But I'm not saying for sure there is under these circumstances if you are collecting your roommate's half of the rent and then paying the big bill if it makes you go over or if it makes it look like you have income. But the bigger reason is that you don't want to have to fight that fight. Sometimes these fights when there's the answer's obvious and it was so completely legitimate and not all on the up and up, but just some little appearance of a potential impropriety that brought the SSA's attention to you, fighting that battle can take years. Um, I mean, I have seen where, the original determination might be made at the field office of whether or not they believe you or whatever. But all you get is one incompetent or lazy, or if the rules require it, rubber stamping a overpayment problem. You're gonna have to appeal it and take it to a judge and then have all your papers in a row. And hopefully that roommate is going to testify or whatever. But I always think it's better to avoid putting a cog in your SS wheel because it is like fighting City Hall. You get people who just press the button of reject, and then we have to fight for years. And with overpayments, it's tough because it's going to be hard for you. I mean, you have to do it yourself, or you have to retain an attorney and or a non-attorney rep, and many will not do it. I don't even do overpayments anymore. They are incredibly few and far between, and I've made resolutions not to do it anymore. I consult on them, of course, but the only way you might get a representative is if you come up with a retainer then, so that they know if they prevail, they're going to get paid. But it's tricky one way or the other. And so I just urge take more care with what you do, think things out, read up a little bit, listen to the videos, what have you. There's several professionals of my colleagues that, provide, tips and information and general guidelines that, are available from the SSA site and put it into a little bit of more practical examples. If you can avoid causing yourself the headache, I would, because the stress of an overpayment, particularly when you're on SSI, or SSD, it doesn't really matter. Whenever you don't have, a way to absorb the expense when you're already on tight funds, possibly, it's just something you just got to just take things slower and make more, I guess, sound decisions of how you're going to, funnel those monies to the landlord. I mean, why can't the one person write a check and you write a check too? Or if you do it through Zelle or through bank pay, there's so many ways to do it now. You don't even have to write a check. Obviously, your landlord will, let you know if you can do it that way. But I would just keep it very clean. Don't put that cog in your wheel. Don't screw around with your bank account, putting someone else's money in it, because it's going to look like you have more money than you do, possibly. All right. Sometimes it's better to do a little bit of extra work and make a different routine of how you're going to do it than just doing it the easy way. What seems to be the easiest way, because it could end up being the biggest headache, and it could be a years-long headache. And you could lose the headache. So, all right, guys. Happy New Year, by the way. I'll talk to you later. Hey, so if the subject matter of the video you just listened to is of interest and you want more on it, stay tuned. Here's another one about the same topic, but a little bit different. Bye now. Good afternoon now, I think it is actually. Had a question. It's a good one. If someone is on SSI and they're looking to be careful with their resource limit, is it something where the SSA is looking at your bank account every single day to see if at any particular time in the month the balance jumps up to a particular amount that would be over, say, $2,000 for a single person? I don't think so, and I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to link it. Remember, when you get money coming in that you didn't have before, that would be income for that month. So that's one whole thing, is it countable income or whatever versus a loan. But the first day of the next month, if your resources are over that 2,000 limit, or 3,000 if you're married, that would be the day they look at. And I say that because I always tell people never let it go over. But that might be a little bit overly cautious, because when if someone has $1,300 in their bank account and then they get a $900 SSI payment, now they're at $2,200 and they're over the limit. So that shouldn't be a problem unless you keep it there until the first of the following month. So the point is that you should have spent it in that month. I think that's why they pay it to you early in the month, so that you have all month to use it for necessaries or nice things if you have, spare, and you have to always remember that you need it. So you need to say it's the 2,000 by the end, at the end of the month, because you're about to pop into the next month. You want to make sure it is less than 2,000, or again, 3,000 if you're married. The wording that the SSA says, quote, if the value of your resources that we count is over the available limit at the beginning of the month, you cannot receive SSI for that month. So if you're fined for January 1st, Charlie, where are you going? If you're fined for January 1st, then you have money come in, and on the 31st and tipping over into February 1st, it is now over, again, let's just assume you're single, 2,000. The February payment lets you get paid on the 3rd or the 1st or whatever. That one's not due you. So granted, the SSA is not going to know it. They're not dipping their finger in every month, I'm pretty sure. But that would be a month that, in hindsight, you're not going to be owed, because they will check, in bulk later. So you want to make sure, because you don't want to keep receiving the 900 thinking everything's kosher, bumping into the first of the month and having over your limit. And really, just because the dogs are barking, you don't have to do that. The first of the month, you know, would be the triggering date. So always make sure to spend it before the last day of the prior month, just to make sure it is down below 2,000 before you hit the first of the following month. Let's say you're at 1,900 and you get 900 and now you're at 2,800. Oh my goodness, that's really piercing. Come on, just because they're barking, you don't have to do that. So the 2,800 won't be a problem unless you're not back underneath the 2,000 before you tip over into the next month. So that's, and I think that's to ensure that you're actually, the 900 you're getting is needed for bills. So, because if it's not really needs-based then, is it? So anyway, I hope that answered the question. That's a short little quickie there, just to answer that specific question. And if you have any similars, feel free to pass them along. If I can get to them, I will. All right, take care now.